Hello from London. We're here at the European Conference on Education, Arts and Humanities and Gerontology. Next to me is standing Professor Nortcliffe. Thank you for being here.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. It's my third time in London, actually.
Oh, make the most of it.
Could you briefly introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
So I'm Professor Anne Nortcliffe. My professor title is Professor of Inclusive Engineering, Technology and Design. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Arts, Computing and Engineering at Wrexham University. But the reason why I'm here at IAFOR was giving a keynote today on the work that I did when I was at Canterbury Christ Church University of founding a brand new school of engineering, technology and design, but actually founding it on principles of equality, diversity and inclusivity.
This is a broader question, but you talked a lot about gender bias within engineering education, etc. But if you had to name one thing that is missing from engineering education today, what would that be?
It is fundamentally inclusive engineering. In the UK now, it's actually a requirement of the learning outcomes from government and from the Royal Academy of Engineers and the UK Engineering Council. And I'm part of an accreditation team who goes around accrediting engineering, and every engineering institution is struggling with the concept about inclusivity. Understanding it's not just about attracting more females into engineering, it's about how do we engineer the world to be inclusive, accessible for all of society. And they are struggling with that because the majority of engineering teams, unfortunately, are white, male, and so they design solutions as mirror image.
Yeah, it was very bizarre and interesting to me that we had a question asking what is EDI.
Yeah. But, I mean, to be fair, this is an international conference. EDI is 3 English words, so it may be in a different phraseology in different cultures. But also, you've got to bear in mind, EDI in China, that's quite challenging in that it's a monoculture. So the mirror image is majority of Chinese people. The only difference would be disability and gender. But they wouldn't be thinking about ethnicity or different cultures because the monoculture is China.
Why is it important to talk about inclusivity?
Because we just cannot carry on as we are. If we keep excluding people part of the equation, we're not creating solutions that fit for purpose. But for businesses, it just doesn't make business sense. So a good example would be BAE Systems, who were making fighter pilot helmets. They used to only design those based on white males from the 1950s and then the army white males, and they identified only 3 heads. It was the Royal Air Force in the UK highlighted, but we have female fighter pilots and they can't wear the helmets. So to be fair to BAE Systems, they went and researched all of this and discovered, and they researched head sizes, where eye positioning is, this distance between the eyes and the ear, and they looked at it from a cultural ethnicity, gender, and realised there's 7 types of heads. And then they had the opportunity to sell their fighter pilot helmets into India, the Middle East, China, because suddenly the market opened up. So not being inclusive just doesn't make sense at any level.
So even business-wise, it will make sense to convince people to talk about inclusivity more. Does the role of education change in light of this?
Yes, it does. You have to constantly challenge your own biases and your own comfort zones. If you look at your own friendship groups, and not often necessarily they tend to be mirror image, so it's about being able to have those conversations and recognise if you've got a broader set of students, you've got to take yourself out of those conversations. I've had male colleagues, very young male colleagues, who found it very difficult and intimidating to talk to their female students, but then not realising the impact of their actions of ignoring them and not talking to them are actually detrimental on their education. So it's about challenging yourself and taking you out of that comfort zone to recognise that your language and what you do could actually have real long-term impact.
So what would be the role of the university then?
As an educator, constantly educating. So it's not educating just students, it's educating staff. And it doesn't stop. You get new staff in, people slip into old habits, you have to revisit it again and again and again.
We are at an interdisciplinary conference, and in the audience we had people from the education, from engineering, from social sciences, then we had arts and humanities and also gerontology, so it's a very diverse group. And we are about interdisciplinarity at IAFOR. So does interdisciplinarity play any role in this discussion on inclusivity?
Oh, definitely. So talk about health and nursing, they have the opposite problem of attracting males to nursing. So there's lessons learned in the opposite direction to support in those areas, but also in developing solutions. And engineers have to work across fields. So encouraging and having those conversations in interdisciplinary way is so important. I'm now fortunate that actually I'm a dean of a faculty that is completely interdisciplinary. It's all the creative subjects together. And engineers are very good at solving problems but forgetting the poor human being in the mix, whereas the artists don't. And then we're not necessarily the best communicators, but we have the creative media experts and the arts people who are very good at communicating ideas. So some of the things I'm encouraging now, research projects we're getting serious money on, is actually encouraging that the engineers include an artist as part of the research bid to help that communication piece, so that we can communicate with Joe Public, the people outside, to understand that significance of that research and the impact on them.
It's good to hear that you advocate for interdisciplinarity, and it makes our work at IAFOR also very meaningful. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.